Hello, good morning. I'm Bart Poulson, and I am here today with my daughter, Zoë Poulson, and we're at my office at the university where I am a professor, and Zoe is a third year undergraduate student. And we're here to talk about ChatGPT and how to use it, how not for cheating, not to have it do the work for you, but to help make you smarter. And Zoe is the expert on that. And I wanted to share that with whoever's watching, including my own students here at UVU. Now, I am in Orem, Utah in the United States. It's 11 in the morning right here. But if you are online and joining us from somewhere, I would love for you to go to the comments and say hello and tell us where you're from. So if you're there, that's great. And if you are watching this as a video, well, that's something I do intentionally. This meeting will be available as a video immediately afterwards on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And so it'll be a resource there for all of you. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Zoe. Step forward so your head's a little bigger. And you can tell people what you're studying and how you got started using ChatGPT in school.
My name's Zoe, and I am studying biomedical sciences here at UVU, and I started using AI as like a resource and a tool because it's a productive way of getting your homework done, but it also has helped me a lot just trying to like sort through information. And I have dyslexia and ADHD, and so sometimes large bodies of text like from my textbook is really like overwhelming for me to handle, and I get overstimulated just having to read a textbook rather than have that information sorted out for me.
And there's symbols and formulas in there and processes.
Yeah, and I tend to skip over information or skip key phrases, and I miss out on conceptual information when I don't get those things. And so it's really, ChatGPT especially has really helped me break down that information, and I'm really excited to be able to show you guys how I did that.
Yeah, and one of the things worth mentioning is the things that she's going to show you are both really good for people who are trying to master a new technical discipline, but they're also really good for people who have various kinds of learning differences like dyslexia or ADHD or dyscalculia or other situations. And it's a great way not to have it do the work for you, but to help you go through the process. Think of it's a tutor that has infinite patience, and that's a beautiful thing. And so what we're going to do is, by the way, I just want to say hello to two people. We have Dr. Abulawi in Saudi Arabia, and we have Mohammed in Egypt. And so I guess the time zone is working well for you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad you learned how to use SPSS, and this is also a good way to learn how to do a lot of other things. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to sharing our screen here, and then Zoe's going to walk us through a couple of examples of how she has used ChatGPT, and then we can talk about some of the pros and cons of that afterwards. So we're going to switch to screen sharing and have infinite regress for just a moment. Let's see here. We want to go to here, and then we go to there. You know what? I'm gonna share a specific window so that this works properly. 1 second. We're going to stop that screen, and we're going to go share screen. And we're going to go to the kinetics rate first. Okay, so hopefully you are all seeing that properly. All right, Zoe, walk us through what you got here.
Yeah, so for this one, I typed into ChatGPT just explaining kind of where I'm at with things. And so I explained that I have dyslexia and ADHD, and that I can't focus on large bodies of text. And I gave them an outline about what my chapter was on for the week, and that this is just note taking and understanding the conceptual information in my textbook.
And you specifically told it that you want a dyslexia friendly format with bullet points and using tables, bolding key terms, and so on. And so giving it the specifics of what it is you need in return.
Yeah. And so I then copied the text from my textbook with the learning objectives from the section, and I asked it to relate all of the information specifically back to these learning objectives because that's what I'll be tested on. And then I copy and pasted my large set of text from my textbook, and ChatGPT came up with this. These are the learning objectives, and it puts it into this format with the bolded terms that I like, and it has the equations, and it defines all of the variables in the equations for you. And in the next chat that we go over, you'll see that it will help me rewrite the equations into different formats and help me understand how to apply those, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. Things like this, why is there a negative sign?
Yeah, and let me mention, this way that it's finishing it up right here is very similar to how I write the formulas in my textbook. I teach statistics for undergraduate students in psychology, and I know that this formula where you say, here's the formula, put the formula in the middle, and then where this and this and this and this, and explaining the bits and pieces. And so I know from experience that this is a really good format. And for those of you who are in my statistics classes, it can also take the text and break it down for you like this.
Yeah. And so it just highlights all of the key points exactly how I asked it to. It puts things into tables. Like this is just a data set from my textbook, but it also will compare information for you. And that's what I really like about this, is that it puts it in a very like accessible way. And things like tables are really easy for me to memorize, especially because it's like 3 things in one. And if I can kind of picture the table while I'm in my exam, that's really helpful for me. And so things like that. It will even like shoot out graphs for you if you want them to. I didn't need the specific graph for this one, but yeah. And then it gives me my list of equations that I asked for.
And so what it's doing here is it's simply taking the information that you have and is making that information more accessible. I've known, I remember people developing programs a long time ago that could take the large text of an ebook and break it up so it almost looked like poetry, where it's just making little phrases and nesting them in and out, because then it gives you little pieces of information. This is taking it several steps beyond that in terms of taking the large chunks of text and making it easier to focus on what's important and charting the relationships between the pieces.
Yeah, my chemistry teacher this semester, I had told him that I wanted to go to PA school, and he told me not to focus on my notes because I'll have somebody doing my notes for me when I become a PA, and to focus on the conceptual information. And so spending 5 hours a week reading my textbook is not productive for me, and having ChatGPT lay out the information like this has saved me an unbelievable amount of time throughout the week and given me a significantly better understanding of the information that I do need to know for the class.
Which is hard to imagine because you still spend more time studying than anybody else I know.
And then it gives you the key takeaways from it and a little preview of what you would like to see next. And then because I need to understand this and I can't let AI do my learning for me, I said, hey, I'm going to study up on this for a little bit. And then when I come back, I'm going to teach you what I know. And that's not in this chat itself, but it's a way of me saying like, okay, I'm going to go put in the work now that I have the information laid out correctly. And I'm going to type out everything that I got from this. And I need you to help me rephrase what's not quite correct and modify that.
So I'm going to tie it in with what I do with my classes. I give my students extra credit if they're in study groups. And they've sometimes asked, well, does meeting with a tutor count as a study group? And I go, no, it doesn't, because that's a one-way interaction. The tutor is just telling you. The study groups are different because you have the possibility of then teaching somebody else. And so now, students of mine, I'm not going to give you credit for doing this with ChatGPT, but it's a good thing to do. You'll learn the material better. But the idea here is that Zoe is using this as an opportunity to try teaching ChatGPT, and it will let her know if she's gone off one way or the other. And so we all know that one of the best ways to learn something is by teaching. And so she's making the most of that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and you'll kind of see that in the next one. We can move over to this.
Okay, wait, I have to share that window separately.
Okay.
So we're going to change windows now. And we're going to say stop that screen. I'm going to pick the new one. And now we're going to go to the amazingly tricky one. Here we go.
So
go back up.
My learning style is a lot of application. I have to be the one to do the process of learning for me to be able to get it. I can't read a textbook and just understand things. It's hard for me to sit in my lectures and just feel like I'm understanding it in a way where I could apply it on an exam. And so I've asked ChatGPT to help me with that. And so I started by asking it if it could walk me through some of the steps to solve problems in the back of my textbook. And every other question in the back of my textbook does have an answer, but it doesn't show me how to get the answer. And that's the problem. It's like I will get the same question wrong 9 times, but I don't understand what I'm doing wrong or where I'm going wrong. And so that's how I started doing this. And so I pasted the question from the back of my textbook and I asked them to break it down into clear steps. Again, I think I specify, please bold terms, please make it dyslexia friendly, just because that's how I absorb my information. And it breaks it down into steps. Step 1, understand what the problem is asking. Look at the balanced reaction, remember the equation, and apply this to our reaction. And having it go through the steps with all of the bullet points and having these reminders in there has been really, really helpful. And then it shows me the answer and it tells me what it means. But then I think I understand the process now. And so now I need to teach someone how to do it and go through the process on my own so that I know where my questions are. And so I know what goes wrong where for me. And so I asked it to not give me the answer and not give me any information except for the information that I give it. And that's an important thing. ChatGPT will sometimes give you more information than you need. And so specifying, just give me a word problem and let me derive the information has worked really well for me because it's me telling the ChatGPT what I need. And so I say, I understand now. Here's a problem from my textbook. Let's go through this. And I break it down exactly how ChatGPT broke it down. And this is what it says. Step 1, let's move on to step 2. And then I didn't know what to do in step 2. So I said, I have a question. And it helped me break it down into something that I did know. And that's the thing about ChatGPT. Sometimes when I go to class, I don't know how to raise my hand and ask a question because I don't know what my question is. All I know is that I'm feeling very confused. And ChatGPT, you can type in a bunch of stuff, and even if it doesn't quite make sense, even if you don't quite know even what you're asking, it can usually figure that out. Or it can get you closer to what you don't know, and then you can go back and modify that.
Yeah, I'll just mention, I have a PhD. I have written 2 books. I have created 40 video courses, more like 50 video courses on statistics and data science and software. I was using ChatGPT this morning to ask some embarrassingly simple questions about some software that I'm not really familiar with, but it was using terms I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. And so I had to have it back up about 3 steps, and it was great. Now I feel good about it.
Yeah, and so it's just like breaking things down into really simple baby steps, and it's really been helpful. So it shoots out the answer in a way that's super easy for me to understand, the bullet points, the bolded terms. And then I check in again. So would this be correct? And it says, yes, you've got it, in a very motivating way. You can even tell ChatGPT to give you a little pep talk or celebrate you when you get the right answer. And when you're doing something hard and rigorous and you just keep getting the wrong answer, it actually feels good to get some validation at the end of that, even if it is from a program instead of a person.
But it's a very nice and enthusiastic program.
Yeah. And so then I go through the process explaining what I have and what I need to do for step 3. And it helps me go through it again.
Oh, it's giving you a little smiley.
Yep. But then I have another question, and it answers my question for me.
And the nice thing too is it doesn't judge you on your spelling or
or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so then I get to check my answers, and it's perfect. And then I don't know if it's in this chat specifically, but after I do that, I always ask ChatGPT to give me practice questions. And I will practice doing them on my own. And if I have questions that come up in the middle of that, then it's the same process of asking, hey, I have a question about this one. In the first practice problem that you gave me, I'm not understanding how this relates to this. Can we talk about that more in depth? I think maybe down here. I'm not quite sure where it would be, but that's probably the most helpful thing that I've gotten out of all of this is the practice problems from ChatGPT that it can generate for me, and then having me be able to check my steps. And I understand that AI is never going to be like perfect and 100% correct. And there's been a few times where I've been confident that I got the right answer. And so after I go through this process a few times, I'm able to go back and check ChatGPT's math and work. And since ChatGPT lays out all of the steps for me, because that's what I've asked it to do, it makes it really simple for me to go back and say, hey, why did you change the coefficients here? Why did you input this value instead of this value? And there's been a few times where ChatGPT says, oops, I made a mistake. You're absolutely correct. Good job catching that. And that to me is just as significant as the other learning that happens in ChatGPT, because if I know something well enough to teach it back to an AI program and also be able to catch their mistakes, then it means that I'm understanding the material.
And Zoe's using this for her chemistry classes, but you've used it for other classes.
I've used it for biology. I've used it for psychology. I've used it for just understanding running paces and things like that. And it's just, yeah.
You've also used it to help you like change the tire on your car or something?
Yeah. Or like how to file my taxes was one this week, or how to make an Excel sheet that will, how to change the axes on an Excel sheet to get the correct graph. I've done that a lot, and it just gives me step-by-step instructions on how to do things.
And that's all really helpful. But again, the big part here is that Zoe's using it, again, the learning comes not from having it tell you what the answers are, although sometimes that's all you need. I just need the answer, let me move along. But breaking it down step by step, and then she gets to check her work at each point. And so she is leading, it is following up and going, yes, good, or change this. And that's where the really instructive part is. And then she turns around and she tries teaching it and rephrasing it in her own words back to the AI. And anyhow,
I participate in study groups for this chemistry class as well. I have a study group that I meet with every week, and we have exams every 2 weeks for this class. And I get to show up to that study group and teach the students in my class, my peers, how to do these equation problems and how to rewrite formulas. And I'm able to teach them in a way that they understand it because of the way that ChatGPT teaches it to me. And it's like, if I have to break it down step by step and do these baby steps before I can go and do like bigger problems, then that's what it needs to be. And it ends up saving me a lot of time, but it also ends up being a good resource for all students and all of my peers, because it's fun to teach people how to do things that seem really hard.
it is. By the way, I just want to just mention, Nason is joining us from Germany and Ahmed is joining us from Palestine. One of the most amazing things about this is, even though we're here in Utah County, Utah, and I'm doing this primarily for my students here at Utah Valley University, is that we do have this potential to reach out to people from around the world. So I'm thrilled that everybody's been here. And we're just going to wrap it up. And again, a reminder that the video is going to be available immediately afterwards on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And Zoe was telling us that, when she finishes here at UVU, she wants her diploma to say ChatGPT University. We'll also get her one that says Utah Valley University, but we'll have to put the little ChatGPT thing there next to it. Anyhow, with that, any closing words?
No, you can do it. Just ask for what you need, even if it is to an AI program. It will help you.
And with that, folks, thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you next month on some other topic. It's so great to have you here. Bye-bye.